Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool, from her she shed in her beautiful backyard. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
Like miners of old, on a search for pure gold, like ancient explorers, venture outside their borders. My heart is yearning to go somewhere new. I long to explore the depths of you, to explore the depths of you. Latitude and longitude and every thought in between, to know you are and all we could be, the ways that you move, the dreams we could dream, to know all the depths of you. Like a ship out at sea, going where your current leads, like a poetic scholar. My thoughts long to wander, and this mind is burning to know something new. I long to explore the depths of you, to explore the depths of you. Dream to know all the depths of you.
Hi, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. All right, tomorrow's the big day, going to North Carolina. Just want to remind you that I'll be back on Friday. All right, so today's Monday with Mark and Michelle. I'm going to be gone to North Carolina tomorrow. Thinking about taking Flash more. He wants to go. My husband says, just take him with us. He said, you know, the thing about it is he's just going to be at home wishing he was with you. So we're talking about me taking him. You know, he just wants to be with the mama, as my family says. All right. Well, so excited to have you guys with us today. We got a lot scheduled to cover today, a lot. But first, I took a peek in the chat as we were opening up, and Deborah Lynn W., I saw your comment saying, Michelle, I want to thank you for the beautiful cups and also for the beautiful bar of silver. She went off for kinds of stuff during Michelle Again's month. That's what it ended up being in January. She says, I want you to know that I received them and I just love them. You are very kind and generous. Well, you're welcome, Deborah Lynn W. You are welcome, girl. And enjoy. I hope you enjoy everything that you get. So anyways, all right. Well, without further ado, we're going to go on ahead and bring Mr. Lieutenant Mark Taylor and so that way we can go on ahead and get started. Got a lot to cover. Hello, Lieutenant Mark Taylor. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for being with us. All right. So the first thing, if people have not seen this altercation, so to speak, between the exchange between President Trump and the governor of Maine, you got to see it. We're gonna start the show with that. Let's take a look so everybody can catch up if they hadn't seen it.
Has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
What do you think, Mark?
Honestly, I think that's what I like the most about President Trump sometimes is that he always keeps his cool. He never raises his voice. He never gets, flamboyant, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? He always flustered.
Never
You know what I mean? He just kind of just rolls it right out there, man. Says, good, I'll see you in court. That should be an easy one. You know what I mean? And enjoy your life after the fact because your days of politics are over. Does he know something we don't know? Is she going to end up in prison? That's a good point right there.
Okay, so for those that couldn't hear what she said, she goes, I'm complying with state and federal laws. And he's like, great, because we are the federal law. Yeah. And then she goes, I'll see you in court as he starts talking about not having men or males in women's sports, which is completely, it's complete insanity. Anyways, I can't even believe. Can you even believe this is even a thing?
Yeah. This is how nasty these Democrats are, let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I've noticed a lot of people that are talking about Democrats, but, we know that a lot of the Republicans are in on it too. That's the thing that I think that kind of I'm noticing is a little bit frustrating for me is it's not just Democrats. Look at what Julian Assange even said. He said by the time the swamp gets drained, what is it going to be? 98, 99, whatever he said, his percentage said that they're going to be gone, So we have to keep that in mind too. But wow, I liked that he took her on face to face right there. That's what I liked.
Well, right in front of everybody. Yeah, and good. And I had put out also something on Telegram that said, this is what it's going to take. It's going to take a very heavy hand to bring this country back into alignment as far as correction is concerned, because it's been allowed to veer off course for so long now. It's going to take a very heavy hand in order to bring it back course correction wise. The same thing you're seeing happen in politics is going to happen in religion, which we're going to get into later as we go on the show. It's going to take a very heavy hand in order to bring correction. But the problem is people don't like correction because with correction comes what? Accountability. You have to, you can't have accountability without correction. You can't have correction without accountability. And it's human nature not to want accountability.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I was a business coach. I can guarantee you people don't like accountability. They say they do. Yeah, and the first call, the first coaching appointment, well, why would you want, coaching? Well, accountability. Yeah. Let that a couple weeks later, it's a different deal.
Right.
Okay. So, all right. One of our viewers says, I live in Texas now, originally from Maine. I'm so embarrassed with everything that's going on there. Was not like that when I grew up. You know what? I think a lot of things, Matthew Corey is the viewer that left that comment. Matthew Corey, I think a lot of us are saying that right now. About 50 years and older, we remember a different world. And so I may look younger, but I'm 50. I'm in my 50s. I'm 52. So I had to think there for a second. But anyways, and so, but that's the point. I think there's so much of the good stuff that we grew up with that we're seeing is gone. And so, okay. All right. Well, with that, I want to go on ahead and get into some prophecies that are coming to pass. You and I have had a couple of conversations in the last few weeks. In fact, last week I'd wanted to cover this and it just didn't make the list. But
Right.
this week we've got to, and that is talking about prophecies that are coming to pass. You said that you've got at two specifically that come to mind that you're seeing come to pass. Now, we did get a viewer comment right before the show, I think. And the viewer comment said, wow, just rereading Mark's 6 prophecies from 2018, the crew of 32 through 128:22, which was the judgment has begun. We are going through this now, this particular viewer said. So let's talk about the two that we're going to talk about today. The first one is the Commander-in-Chief. It's April the 28th, 2011.
Right.
Share with us.
This was April 28, 2011. This is the original Commander-in-Chief prophecy that kind of started things off for me, basically, when news media got a hold of it, this, that, and the other. Well, some of this, the thing with prophecies is people think that part of this is coming to pass now, but now we're really starting to see the prophecies really starting to kick in, because now we're seeing this, because again, you got to remember, Trump was in the first term. We had a whole 4 years of Biden, the fake Biden, whatever you want to call it. And then now we've got this whole second term where things are going like gangbusters now, where we're seeing exposure, we're going to see judgment, we're seeing all of this. And it's in the first one, in the first paragraph, I'm just going to read a couple sentences here. It says, the United States of America, for I will use this man to bring honor, respect, and restoration to America. America will be respected once again as the most powerful and prosperous nation on earth, other than Israel. The dollar will be the strongest it has ever been in history of the United States and will once again be the currency by which all others are judged. Now, we thought that was for the first term. Well, now what are we seeing right now? He's slapping tariffs on everybody. He's slapping tariffs on bricks. He says, I'll put 100% tariffs on anyone who messes with the dollar. So we're seeing that really come to pass right now. Then it gets into the second paragraph. It says, the Spirit of God says, the enemy will quake and shake when fear this man I have anointed. They will even quake and shake when he announces he's running for president. It will be like a shot heard across the world. That was the first term. The enemy, here's where it comes with this term. It says the enemy will say, what do we do now? This man knows all our tricks and schemes. So he learned a lot from the first one. We have been robbing America for decades. What shall we do to stop this? We're seeing that in the headlines right now. He says, I'm stopping this stuff that we've been robbing and stealing from America for how long? He says, the Spirit says, no one can stop this that I have started. For the enemy has stolen from America for decades, and it stops now. For I will use this man to reap the harvest the United States has sown for, and plunder from the enemy what he has stolen, and return it sevenfold back to the United States. What are we seeing right now? He's demanding the money from Ukraine, $350 billion. Yeah. He's demanding all this money from these countries that have been stealing from us for years. Here's your sevenfold return, and plus the tariffs are going to be the sevenfold return that's going to be returning back to America. So he says the enemy will say, Israel, what about Israel? For Israel will be protected by America once again. The Spirit says, yes, America will once again stand hand in hand with Israel. The two shall be as one. The ties between Israel and America will be stronger than ever, and Israel will flourish like never before. So that part of that is coming to pass right now in this second term. That's the cool thing about this, because we thought it was the first term because he was protecting the dollar when he was in here. But we didn't see any of these protection mechanisms or any of this return of money to the United States like we're seeing right now. And it's only we're 30 days into this administration, and we're seeing this stuff kick into high gear like we've never seen. So that right there from 2011 is coming to pass to me right now. It's happening as we speak.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And so that was the Commander-in-Chief.
Right.
April 2011. So now we have a second one that we discussed, and that was the Wolves in Sheep's Clothing from 2021.
That is correct. Well, I thought I had it.
That was another prophecy we've talked about a number of times. While you're looking at that, I want the audience to know. So Mark and I talked about this. And is that the one? Which one was it that the viewer ended up reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, have you realized this is coming to pass?"
That was the 2011. That was Yep. So I've
Yeah.
got this one right here, wolves in sheep's clothing. I've got so many coming to pass right now because people are actually pointing it out to me. I haven't even been paying
Yeah.
attention. They're
Yeah.
actually contacting me and telling me. I think it's wolves in sheep's clothing is one.
Yeah.
There's judgment. Judgment has begun is another one. So, but wolves in sheep's clothing. This is the one I really want to go after here because
Great.
we got some stuff to show some people as well. And
Yeah.
it's on the third paragraph. Wolves in sheep's clothing was written. God gave it to me. I released it January 7th, 2021. And it says, the Spirit of God says another betrayal from the President's Spiritual Advisory Board has taken place. Jezebel whispers, it's complete. We have the king's ear. I control who speaks to the king. No true prophet of the living God will ever reach him. Only my soothsayers will speak. The betrayer sits at the king's table. I want people to understand who this is. This is Paula White, is who God is talking about right here. This is the betrayer. Now, what is the betrayal? The betrayal is not allowing a true prophetic voice anywhere near President Trump. Now, look, I'm not stupid. I got discernment. I don't have the best discernment in the world. I'm still learning like everybody else. I'm still growing. But I took the warning very seriously when the assassination attempt of President Trump, when that firefighter died. That was a warning shot to me, I believe, when that firefighter died, because the dark side was warning me they don't want a certain firefighter that close to the president. That's what this is talking about right here. This is what God's talking about. He says, let me read it again. Another betrayal from the President's Spiritual Advisory Board has taken place. Jezebel whispers. Now, the Lord's allowing me to hear what the enemy is saying. It's complete. We have the king's ear. I control who speaks to the king. No true prophet of the living God will ever reach him. Only my soothsayers will speak. The betrayer sits at the king's table. We don't have the video here, but we showed it on ATKN, where Lance Wallnau was literally on Bannon's show, Steve Bannon's show, saying, we now have a foothold, Steve, with Paula White in the White House. What does that really mean? We have a foothold. That's specific terminology right there, guys. In other words, we have a foothold right now to push this fraudulent 7 mountain mandate that they're pushing, which also parallels with the 7 rays of light. We're not stupid here. We can figure this out.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
We talked about it last week. And so Lance Wall now saying we have a foothold with Paula White in there. The foothold is Jezebel has to keep her prophets of Baal under control, number one. But number two, only her prophets of Baal, the soothsayers, are allowed to see the president. That's what this is talking about.
Yeah.
So now we have this thing that we're going to show here on the screen where who was allowed to go see Paula White at the White House as proof as to what this prophecy is saying, that only Jezebel and her prophets of Baal, the soothsayers, will be allowed in.
Okay, so this is an ex post, and this is by a woman named Roxy Crawley. And so you see where it says in DC today, and this actually, Roxy is retweeting an image from Joni and Daystar Joni, and so that we've talked about some. And so there's been the whole thing with Daystar and with Joni and the new husband and all that stuff. So it's going to be hard for you to be able to see what it says up at the top. So I'm going to read it to you. So it says, we have to alert the president, write a post and tag him on X, and send a handwritten letter to the White House. At Daystar Joni appears to be with at Paula White at the White House. I love President Trump, and I hate to think that he's associating with this woman under the guise of faith. Can someone please get him the recordings and multiple investigative articles, including the Dallas Morning News, that allege with all kinds of evidence that Joni covered up the SA of her grandchild. So the sexual abuse of her grandchild, grossly misused donor funds, including putting $100,000 honeymoon on her expense report. So that's what this lady is saying in her ex post, and is showing about Joni. And there's some other photos also that I've seen now with Joni and Paula White and Joni's new husband. So, just so that everybody is aware.
So this is your proof that only the Jezebels are going to allow the prophets of Baal in to see the president. With 7 mountain, they're all in the same clique. Go ahead.
I was going to just say, I didn't mean to interrupt. So if I'm sure I'm going to have some viewers that are watching and they're going, well, how does he know that they're a Jezebel?
Well, first off, look, this is all about protecting the corporation. And we're going to get into some more of this as we go along in the show.
Yeah.
Jezebel's there for one reason, to protect her prophets of Baal and to protect the corporation, the system that is set up to protect her prophets of Baal, which is the corporation. So Daystar representing the corporation, if you will. We already know the Daystar garbage that's going on.
Yeah.
And they're talking about lawsuits, which we're going to get into here in a little bit as we go along here. But what is all of this about? This is about protecting the corporation. You know, Jezebel is a controlling, manipulating entity, period. It doesn't have to be a female. It can be a male. I know plenty of male Jezebels out there. Trust me, I've run across the spirit more than once. And when you run across it, it is nasty. It's vile. And I am telling you now, you will know when it's a Jezebelic spirit. Believe me. But
Yeah.
the point is that she's only allowing, she is the gatekeeper. Paula White is the gatekeeper. That's what people have to understand. She's the gatekeeper to keep certain individuals out, the true prophetic, and she's to only allow her prophets of Baal to come in and speak to the president, to have the king's ear. It says right here, it's complete. Who's we? Jezebel and her prophets of Baal. We have the king's ear. Lance said we have a foothold in the White House with Paula White. That's why. So I control who speaks to the king, she's saying. No true prophet of the living God will ever reach him. Only my soothsayers will speak. Just the fact that Joni Lamb's walking in there should tell you everything you need to know, guys. It's only that type of individual that's going to be allowed in to speak to the White House or to speak to Trump and his people.
Well, also, I'm reminded of the dry erase board. You remember the whiteboard?
Yeah, the
I know
whiteboard.
you do.
Yep. Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So the white, okay, producer Ron, I know you've got that. So if you have it handy, pull it up because I'm sure there are going to be some viewers. We showed it about a month or so ago. It's been around a long time, but let's just go on ahead and show it if we've got it. But I'm reminded of that. I mean, that was the whole thing. They had him in the middle.
Yes. Trump
And
was the
so-
target. All the arrows
Yeah.
are pointing to Trump. Trump's picture in the
Yeah.
center of that. That's because Trump is the target. It's all about capturing the king's ear. I have two prophecies here that are talking
Mhm.
about capturing the king's ear. But this is coming to pass right now. They have captured the king's ear. Now, is Trump smart enough to allow this to happen? Is he onto them? I pray that he is, because just by allowing Joni Lamb to walk in there, to me, that it's like you can't make this up. This is
Yeah.
the biggest scandal in America right now, as far as Christians are concerned, is the Daystar scandal. So just by allowing her to walk into the White House should be a joke to people. It should be, it's like, you can't even make this up.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right. So you had a prayer, producer Ron, if you'd pull this up. So you had a prayer that you wanted to show of Joni. I guess this is a recent prayer that she prayed on her show. Oh, here we go. Producer Ron has the whiteboard. Let's look at it. I knew he did because he keeps all that. All right.
Yeah. This is from Rat. This is
And
from
the
Rat.
Reawakening Tour.
Yep.
So for those that don't know the acronym.
Yep. And
And
notice it's color coded. You have green, you have some in black, you have some that are red stars. All these are color coded for a reason. You've got all kinds of names on this board. A lot of religious, a lot of political. And where are all the arrows pointing?
Oh.
To President Trump, right there.
All right. I was looking to see.
And look where Paula White is, right under his chin.
Yep, there's her face. Okay, I see it.
Yep.
Now, so what do some of the stars mean? Have you been able to kind of
Don't know. Don't
okay,
know.
still don't
It's
know.
that's one of their own things. I think that they do. You'll know. So I mean, I'm not going to rehearse what was going on there. All I know is that Trump is in the center of this. All arrows are pointing to him, and he was the target. So in a lot of aspects, this was a spiritual coup. That's what people got to understand. This was a spiritual coup, capturing the king spiritually.
That's right.
And
Okay.
it has been successful to a point.
I mean, this was a lot of work into this board.
Yeah. Can you back out to the last picture, producer Ron?
Yeah.
Look at the work that went into this. You just didn't draw this overnight. So.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a lot to take in, Mark.
Yep.
But that's what was coming to mind as you were talking. I'm just reminded.
Yeah.
So we shall see. I know there's a big uproar about it and, a lot going on. Producer Ron, let's look at this Joni Lamb video of her, I guess, saying a prayer. So let's take a look at what Mark found here.
Breathe your breath, God,
Breathe your breath, God,
into the wind
into the wind
and blow it into the enemy's camp,
and blow it into the enemy's camp,
causing pain, confusion, and anguish. Blind them every time they look upon my territory,
every time they look upon my territory,
my dominion, or anything connected to it.
Okay, so I don't want to take things out of context here, but I think Julie Roys was calling her out over saying this over people who are coming against her or something. There's a post there somewhere. I don't know if we have the post. Do we have the post? I don't know if we have the post. Okay. So anyhow, but the point is that, again, you know, you got to ask yourself, why are they digging their heels in so hard here with some of this stuff? Why is she calling down curses on people? Because one could say that if she's praying against those in the spiritual realm, I understand that. But is she calling us down in the natural? Because if she is, forget it. That's a curse. So we're not to do that. Are we to do that in the enemy's camp spiritually? Yeah, we can do that in the enemy's camp spiritually. But I don't trust this lady as far as I can throw her, because already this is already, the trust has been broken as far as Daystar is concerned. So.
Okay. I wondered about that. Ooh-wee, a lot going on with all this. Okay, so let's go on ahead and move on to this alien church thing. Now, you know, just when you think you've seen it all.
Right.
I mean, really, just when you think you've seen it all. Did you know that aliens go to church? I did not know this. Let's take a look.
So behind the train station in downtown LA, there's a literal alien church. We were just recording outside when the door started lifting up. This is some you would only find in LA, I swear to God. These two guys walked out from behind the building and said,
Oh, you guys opened it?
Yeah.
Oh,
passing by?
Yeah, I've never seen this before.
You guys tried walking together?
Yeah. I don't know why we decided to follow these men inside, but we did, and
This member that comes on Sundays and Mondays and does like sound healing, and we're gonna have other members that are going to come to.
Okay, so a couple of things I want to share. So the sign out front of the building that they showed really quickly says advanced thinking does exist. Welcome to the alien church. Actions rather than just words. And then Lieutenant Mark Taylor found their Instagram page, and it says that they are the mind evolvers. So the first thing I want to know is, what does advanced thinking, what does that mean that exists? Like, creepy.
No clue.
Yes. Michelle B says on YouTube, creepy, but not surprised. Okay. Yep. I get upset with myself because I'm always surprised and shocked.
Yeah. Nothing surprises me anymore, honestly. But I mean, it's like, look, but see, and my question to these guys is, are they a 501c3? If anybody can find that out, please put it in the comments. If they're a 501c3, guess what? Guess who's yoked with that church? Every other 501c3 corporation out there.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Do not be unequally yoked, the Bible says, but you are yoked with these people. The Church of Satan is 501c3. They're all 501c3. They're all nonprofits.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Joey, I see your comment. We're going to come back to this just in a minute. Okay. All right. So let's go on ahead and take a look at a few things here. So just when you, like I said, just when you think you've seen it all, there's always something else. So here's a question that I wrote down. Okay. I wrote down why in my notes for today. So why is it always about the money? All right. Now that's my question. It was just something I wrote it down and it just came out of me. It wasn't planned. And so we're going to show you a few videos and we're going to talk about them. So let's go on ahead and take a look at this David E. Taylor video real quick, producer Ron.
going to get you, not only for messing with the money that comes through here. God's going to get you for messing with his money in his kingdom. He ain't going to let you mess with his money that flows through the church by telling people they don't need to tithe, telling people they don't need to sow $1,000 seeds. You are out of order, and God is going to get you. I rebuke you in Jesus' name. I can speak boldly like this because he is backing me, and I've seen him kill people for me. You will die messing with this ministry. Jesus came to me. He told me that he will kill people.
Yeah, this is a little bit shorter video, but so he's seen him kill people for me. What is he talking about?
Well, he's the sign behind him said God's supernatural marvel.
Yeah.
Does that mean he's a Marvel character? I'm just curious because he didn't take a breath talking there.
All right, let's take a look. Okay, so there is a 7-part docu-series that is coming out in about 6 weeks. It is saying that it's coming out, I think it's like Easter 2025. But take a look.
Hey, can I read this real quick before we get into that? Because this I forgot to read my Telegram post. That goes right along with this. This leads into this, right?
All right, let's hear it.
So I released on Telegram February 22nd, right? I wrote a letter. I said, well, I put it in the form of a letter, okay?
Okay.
I said, Dear Doge, can you please investigate? And I did not know this, and you can verify this for everybody. I did not even know this thing was coming up until pre-interview, right? So I said, Dear Doge, can you please investigate and audit all these big name corporations that call themselves ministries? We, the people, would like to see where all that hard-earned money from tithes and offerings that people thought was going into spreading the gospel, but was really setting up the upper echelon inside those corporations called ministries to get rich. Has it been going to spread the gospel? Let's see where the money has truly been going and what it has been used for. Assets, money laundering, offshore accounts, child trafficking, SA, SRA. Let's truly find out. Have they been receiving money from USAID? PPP loans? Who's propping them up? 3-letter agencies? Illuminati? Who's truly behind all this? Follow the money. How many in the congregations of these corporations are actually debt-free? Less than 1%? What's wrong with this picture? Only the upper echelon in these corporations are the ones with all the assets, money, and debt-free, not the ones in the congregation. That's called a pyramid scheme. Oh, wait, what does the pyramid symbol mean? Shh, they took a vow of silence and sold their soul for 30 pieces of silver. It's blood money. Repent. Give away everything you have made, money and assets, under the Baal Babylonian system and follow Jesus Christ. That's your only way out. It's Matthew 19:21.
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
So now you got this thing coming up. I did not even know this was coming until pre-interview till you showed me. So go ahead.
All right. So this is going to be a 7-part docu-series called The Religion Business. Now, I want you to pay attention. Okay. This is very good. It's very good. All right. I'm sure we're going to be talking about some more, but it's a 7-part docu-series that's coming up in about 5 weeks, going to be released, called The Religion Business. Let's take a look. This is the promo for it.
From an investigator standpoint, you're looking at what drives this machine. And what drives a machine so often is tithes.
Tithing is a test. He gave his son, and you want to argue about 10%.
We've got about 1.8 million nonprofits registered with the IRS today. Over $4 trillion in assets.
You have the for-profit world, you have the nonprofit world, and inside that nonprofit world, you have religious nonprofits or churches.
How do you stop people from taking the money out of the organization to the people who are controlling it?
Greetings, Father. I've come to request an indulgence for my mother.
Within the church, is tithing voluntary or is it compulsory? Does a 990 tell you how much equipment they have?
They have $111 million worth of aircraft.
We do not want this church or any other church destroyed or intimidated by the government.
Yo, buddy.
Got a text message from a mega church pastor out of Minnesota.
Mac would be interested in sitting down with us and having a conversation.
That's huge. We'll drop everything and fly up to him.
An informant brought revival capital of the world to our attention.
They have an estimated net assets of $265 billion.
I have a question for you, actually.
No, we're not going to answer your question.
No, my question is,
you answer our question.
where is Wisdom Heights?
I need to go.
Whoa, did you just flash your gun?
Hey, Lauren. We might be having a rescue. She needs safety for the daughter. The daughter is not safe.
So people are donating, and it's going to silence a rapist.
Did he have HIV? I'm pushing away. I mean, I'm trying to hold on to my dress.
He told me not to tell anyone, especially my husband.
Hi, my name is Nathan Apfel. I just had questions pertaining to housing allowance and also his salary. And then also, we heard that was ordained and also takes a housing allowance. How was the sermon? You are being detained.
Separation of church and state is just a recipe for churches to be a potential for fraud.
All right. So the first thing is, did you hear where Julie Roys says people are donating and it's going to silence a rape? So they're talking about some kind of a case in the 7-part docuseries, apparently. And this reminded me of when I had Brian Mannix on. Brian Mannix was, as a little boy, abused by a priest in the Catholic Church when he was little, about 10 years old. And so I've had him on a couple of times. The first time he was on, which was about 9 months ago, he shared his story as to what happened to him as a little boy. It happened down in the New Orleans area. And one of the things he said when we just had him on recently, giving a court update as to what's going on, he had said, please stop tithing to the Catholic Church. Now, this in his situation is specific to the Catholic Church. All right. But what Julie Roys is saying is that it's not what you find out. What I'm realizing is, of course, it's not just the Catholic Church that is abusing children. Right. And so how many, like you said, we got to talking about Robert Morris there, where he said he gave his son, and you want to argue about 10%. Oh, okay. Let's just guilt people. I mean, that's really biblical. But anyways. But Brian said, so people, just so you realize, please stop tithing to the Catholic Church. He said, because what they're doing is they're taking your tithes and they are fighting against people like me, the real true victims as a child. 99% of the victims are children when they, little boys and little girls, but with the Catholic Church. And so what happens is they're taking that tithe money and they're fighting it in the court system. And so do y'all hear what's going on? This is insanity. This has been going on for decades. This isn't new. It's just, I think more and more of it's coming out. But I'm just saying, like, oh my goodness, Mark, this is amazing.
Well, look, I welcome any help, spreading the word or getting this stuff out as far as these churches are concerned. That's why I read that Doge thing, the letter to Doge, before that came out, because this is along the same lines. Every single one of these ministries should be audited. Literally find out where the money is going and what it's being used for. And so, they have that video just said 1.4 trillion in tithes. They have 4 trillion in assets, if I got that correct.
4 trillion it's right. 4 trillion in assets. They had 1 trillion in assets. Yeah. 1.8 million nonprofits. Did I hear that right? I wrote down 1.8 million.
Yep.
And then, I'm wondering, they said 111 million in aircraft. Was that one church or was that?
I think that's all together. But and here's the part I don't understand. And look, I'm not slamming Julie Roys, because I appreciate what she's doing and what she's done, but she's also a nonprofit. And this
she's a 501c3.
She's a 501c3, and so I don't understand what. I have a hard time, I guess, understanding what their understanding is, because it's like you can't cast out Satan with Satan. She's doing a good work. And I appreciate everything she's doing. And again, I'm not coming against her, but it shows her in here, and they're talking about nonprofits, but yet she's a nonprofit herself. So here we go again with the pastors or the leadership. They can't figure out why they can't take ground when they're fighting. And it's like, you got to understand from a spiritual perspective, you can't cast out Satan with Satan. When you're a 501c3, the government is the head of your ministry, not Jesus Christ. So therefore, because you're in covenant with Baal, you can't cast Baal out, because that's who you're going against, is Baal. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes,
so
it does.
I would love to speak with her and try to help her out along those lines, because these guys would get a whole lot farther in their spiritual warfare and would take ground and be able to hold it. It's not enough to take ground. That's what people got to understand. Some of these 501c3s can take ground. The problem is they can't hold the ground. That's the problem. And when you don't hold the ground that you've taken, now the enemy comes back sevenfold worse, even geographically.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so that's the key, because you did all the work for nothing if you don't hold the ground.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
not only that, but you've made it worse because
You actually made it
come back.
worse because it comes back sevenfold.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so Joey says over on YouTube, he says, "How about demonic Osteen?" I think he's talking about Joel Osteen. He says, "Plumber," which I know he is because I know this story. So this was in the news. I know that you know it, Lieutenant Mark Taylor, but it's about a plumber who was installing a new toilet in the bathroom at the church.
Yeah.
Okay, this is in Texas, Joel Osteen's church. What was this, like a couple of years ago? While breaking out the wall, $600,000 in cash and checks and cash falls out. They got paid from the insurance company when this money and everything supposedly came missing. Now I wonder whose checks were in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. That just hit me. I never thought about that till now. But they had $600,000, I guess, that they claimed went missing. Insurance had paid it. And so, of course, Joey is saying total corruption. There's no telling all the story on that one.
Right.
There's just no telling.
Yeah.
But again, I go back to my question that I wrote down when we were preparing for today's show and I was making some notes. And it's, why is it always about the money? Why is it always about the money? Just like how Robert Morris with Gateway Church was in that video at the beginning. He says, well, he gave his son and you want to argue about 10%. Like, it's always about the money.
Well,
it's always about that $1,000 seed.
It's because they have to build their own kingdom. When they're serving mammon like this is not about building God's kingdom. It's about building their own kingdom. But they want to justify it under that. But see, with money comes power. With money comes glory. Their glory. It's not bringing glory to God. God told me a long time ago, these mega churches are not temples to God. They are temples to mammon.
Yeah. Woo, that was big. That's big. That's big. I hope
when you serve that God, mammon, you have to build that temple that big. That's what that's for. And when you serve that God, mammon, he's going to pay you back what you put into it because you're in that system.
Okay. So this reminds me of the post that you sent me. So producer Ron, I don't see it, but do you have the 3 images about the narcissist by Ball and Pulls that I had sent? Or that Mark has sent. So if you don't have those, I'm not seeing them here. So I want to make sure that we get to that because I thought that was very interesting. So while he's working on that, we're going to come back to that. But let's take a look at what Perry Stone has to say, and then we'll hear what you have to say. Here we go.
Your spirit edified and built up, and whatsoever things are pure, just, and holy, and righteous, think on these. And you're not going to think on these when you follow people who are they want to be influencers. They want to be known. And I will tell you privately, and I can't say who it was. Well, I won't say it publicly, but there are some people about to get into some major lawsuits. They have no idea. And some of them are YouTubers. And some of them are social media people because they've crossed the line and they have no idea what's coming.
Wow.
It's down the road. But
Wow.
you cannot slander, malign, and lie about people.
You can't.
There is that is not under the Constitution or freedom of speech. That kind of speech is not protected. It is not protected.
Yeah,
and
that's
it will
right.
not be protected, So anyway, I just feel like telling the body of Christ, stay edified, stay built up.
That's good, Perry.
Stay involved with people who have a word from God. Listen to those words. Pray. If we would shut off some of the things around us and some of the noise and just meditate on God. I put music on. And I put like just music, not singing, but music. And I'll just pray with my music on.
Yes.
And you'd be surprised, just 30 minutes of prayer, even an hour of prayer, how much it will just take all that stuff out of your spirit. It'll purify the mind, and you will have peace. You'll be able to sleep at night. But if you follow.
Thank you. I can't take this so much. Anyhow, look, before that, he's talking about edifying the body and how we're not to attack our brethren. That's what he was saying before that. That's the part we didn't hear, right? It's earlier in the video. It's just too much to listen to in this podcast. All right, so I want to talk about this from a biblical perspective. Let's talk about. He says, don't attack your brethren. Well, first off, if they're 501c3, they're not my brethren. I hate to tell you that because they're not. They're in the wrong system. If they're outside, that's why this is a rescue mentality. It's to rescue people out of the fire of the Baal Babylonian system and bring them into the body of Christ, who is the ecclesia of God, right? So that's what this is about. But he's talking out of one side of his mouth. He's saying, well, we shouldn't attack our brethren. Well, then the other side of his mouth, he's talking about suing his brethren. So which one is it? You can't have it both ways. Now, what does the Bible say about suing? Well, 1 Corinthians 6:7 says to have lawsuits at all with one another is already a defeat for you. Why not rather suffer wrong? Why not rather be defrauded? 1 Corinthians 6:1-20 says, when you has a grievance against a brother, does he dare go to the law before the unrighteous instead of the saints? Or do you not know that the saints will judge the world? And if the world is to be judged by you and by incompetent, by the trivial cases, do you not know that we are to judge angels? How much more matters pertaining to life? So if you have such cases, why do you lay them before those who have no standing in the church? I say this to your shame. Can it be that there is no one among you wise enough to settle a dispute among your brothers? So, again, I can go on and on and on with this. So why would you say out of one side of your mouth, don't attack my brethren? Out of the other side of the mouth, I'm going to sue my brethren. You see my point?
Yeah.
So which one is it? So again, I go back to, why are they doing this? We have never seen this in the history, at least in my lifetime. I've never seen this, where major ministries come out threatening to sue. Daystar has sent cease and desist letters to YouTubers. He's threatening to sue. So now we're seeing this going on. What is going on here, guys? What is the pattern that we are seeing here? Let's put the picture together. Let's put the piece of puzzle together. They are protecting the corporation. This is the elitist mentality where you're not allowed to judge them. You're not allowed to question them. This is not about protecting the children. This is not about getting a unbiased investigation to find out who's telling the truth and who's lying. That's all we want. All we want is the truth. That's all we're asking for here is the truth in any of these things. An unbiased investigation. And to protect the children. But I go back to the Spirit of God says there's another betrayal from the President Spiritual Advisory Board has taken place. Jezebel whispers, it's complete. We have the king's ear. I control who speaks to the king. No true prophet of the living God will ever reach him. Only my soothsayers will speak. The betrayal sits at the king's table. This is all about protecting Jezebel's prophets of Baal. What happened in the story of Elijah? When Elijah killed the prophets of Baal, he took off because Jezebel threatened to what? Murder him, basically. He went and hid in a cave. What are these tactics doing? This is the spirit of Elijah and the prophets of Baal doing this. They are colliding. So they're threatening the true spirit of Elijah with lawsuits to shut you up and put you back in your cave. That's what this is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because how dare we speak up and want to get to the bottom of the truth and call it out.
The truth. All we want is the truth. That's all we want.
And
That's all we want is the truth.
Protected, and the children to be protected. And so how dare we? How dare we? So I want to go back.
And I don't care how big a name they are. If you have SA or SRA going on or child trafficking going on, I don't care what your ministry is. That ministry needs to literally come down, period. Those people need to pay for what they are doing to these kids. Rant over.
Carol P says, where can we find that documentary? It's a docu-series. It's 7 parts and it has not been released yet. It's about 5 to 6 more weeks, honey. So we'll be talking about it. Don't worry about that. And more to come on all of that, I'm sure. So, okay. So I want to go back to producer Ron has found this. And so I see it now. And so, talking about the clergy. So, you were saying, well, the church, that God showed you that the church was not about him, right? So what was it you said a few minutes ago? You said that God had shown you about the church not being about him. It's all about themselves.
It's all about themselves. It's all about bringing glory to themselves. It's all about the platform. It's all about how big of a platform can I get? How many millions of dollars can I get? It's the spirit of mammon that they are serving. These are temples to mammon, basically, is what these are.
Okay, so here's a little something about these pastors, the clergy that Mark wanted and had, and so I said I wanted to share this with you guys. So it says, within the clergy, there appears to be much higher levels of the most destructive expressions of narcissism than in the general population. The problem is real, and it seems that ministry attracts narcissists for the same reasons that elementary schools and playgrounds attract pedophiles. Narcissism than in the, let's see, is that right? Yep. Narcissism than in the general public population. The problem is real, and it seems that ministry attracts narcissists for the same reasons that elementary schools and okay, this is the same thing.
Well, no, it's, keep going. There's last line right there.
Oh, okay. That elementary schools attract pedophiles. These institutions provide access to victims. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Yes. The church does it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Is this just a few men? Sadly, no. A recent study in Canada determined that narcissistic personality disorder in active clergy in the PCC is between 500% and 3,000% higher than what is found in the general population. Therefore, at least 5% and as high as 30% of pulpits are occupied by this type of a pastor. So this is by Ball and Pools, and this was back. A study was done
10
back
years
in
ago.
2015.
This was
Yeah,
10 years ago. Can you imagine what it's like now?
No, I don't want to even think about it, Mark. I don't want to think about it.
So look, when you talk about these narcissists, right?
No.
Most of these guys are hypocrites. And so when you're talking about hypocrites, a hypocrite is someone who says, don't attack my brethren, but I'm going to sue my brethren over here. That's a hypocrite, period. So
Well, it sounds like a double-minded fool.
you can't have both, period. So when you look at the pulpits, when you look at these corporations, right? These are not pastors. They're not prophets, apostles, teachers, preachers, and evangelists. These are CEOs of a corporation who are narcissists, who and look, even psychiatrists and psychologists have admitted they can't do a dang thing with a narcissist. Not one thing can they do anything for them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can't deal with the narcissist.
Nothing. You can't argue with a narcissist. They're going to always want to win. They're going to always want to have the last word.
That's why you just got to block them.
Yep.
Yep.
Maybe
I feel like I need to repeat that for some of the viewers. I feel like maybe they got some narcissists in their lives and they just need to hear, just block them.
Yeah. I listen, and when it comes to stuff like that, I don't negotiate with people. I don't argue with people because look, some of these people, I hate to say it, I call them a spiritual leech because they suck the literal spiritual life out of you by sitting there arguing back and forth on social media or your comments. Look, if you don't like what's being said, lovingly, please move on.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we were talking about why is it always about the money, right? I was asking that question. Let's take a look. Just when you think you've seen it all. Boy, Mark and I had so many good videos. Now I have to take credit for the alien church video. Now I found that a couple weeks ago. And I just want everybody to know that was me. That was me. All right. So let's take a look at this one.
A bank should be considered a church or even a part of a ministry? Well, New Light Christian Church does. When looking into New Light Christian Center Church, I couldn't help but notice they share a parking lot with a credit union that has a rather similar name. Now I imagine you're thinking, that could just be a coincidence. Luckily, the About page on Light Commerce Credit Union's website addresses that topic, stating they are part of the ministry, and Ivy Hilliard, founder of New Light Christian Center Church, also co-founded Light Commerce Credit Union. They don't specify other founders, but Dr. Erisha Hilliard, Ivy Hilliard's daughter, majored in accounting, so it's possible she is a founder as well. She is also the current Chief Operations Officer at New Light Christian Center Church.
Poor are not exempt from giving because their giving is a seed that positions them for the supernatural increase. And when the poor give in faith, they activate the law of increase just like everyone else does that obeys God.
That's enough of that. Now jumping back to Light Commerce Credit Union's About page, they also mention their neighbor, Faith Village Apartment Complex. Faith Village Apartments doesn't have a website, so it's hard to get information on who the owner is. What are your thoughts? Is Faith Village Apartments another branch of New Light Christian Center Church's ministry, or is it just a coincidence?
Okay.
Wow.
It's always about the money. Why is it always about the money?
Yeah,
all right.
Power.
All right. So it's disgusting. And once you see it, it's like you can't unsee it. That's why we're showing this today, because I'm sure we still have some viewers that are sitting on the fence, not understanding. And this is why we do this Monday after Monday and after Monday. The Michelle Moore Show has committed to helping the scales to be removed from the eyes and helping you. And so Mark and I have been going through this together week after week for this very reason, because it's just like some of the things you've said today, you've said before, but it's like you have to hear it. Yes.
Sometimes it takes repetitive.
Yes. To finally get it,
Right.
I called you and I'll tell people. So let me share this personal testimony. I've been listening to Mark for years. Producer Ron and I would listen. And then the next morning or the next afternoon, we would meet up for lunch and be like, did you listen to the Mark Taylor show? Did you hear what he had to say? And so, did you hear that part about XYZ? Oh, that must mean this. And so we were talking. And so I called Mark, and this was, Mark, what was it, over about a year and a half ago? I called Mark and I said, I've got a situation I need to talk with you about. And it was about, again, I wasn't understanding about the covenant. When you're in a 501c3, you're in a covenant with Baal. That's what I had to understand. So, okay, but can I have somebody on the show that has a 501c3, but doesn't not necessarily regularly, but somebody that has one? And one of the things you said is, look, somebody can be in a 501c3 and still have valuable information. As long as you're not in a covenant, they come on one time or, a year or whatever. That's not a covenant. That's them sharing that valuable information. Are you in business with them? Are you in any kind of a covenant with them? No. But that's when it really clicked with me. I was having a hard time understanding because I had a business relationship. They had just gotten a 501c3. It was a problem, but I wasn't sure exactly why or how. I just knew the 501c3 part of it. And so Mark really helped me to understand it's about the covenant. And so I just want to make sure everybody understands this is very important. And I had been listening to Mark for years. And so this is an example of why we go over this and go over this. Everybody is at a different stage of understanding. And so some are further along than others. And I get that, but some aren't. And my heart is always to make sure nobody is left behind. And so that's just the heart of a teacher, because that's my calling. I'm a teacher. I'm called to be a teacher. And so, anyways, okay. So just when you think you've seen it all. So we saw the alien church. Okay. Shock. So churches using sick gimmicks to attract people. This is the next one.
This is the part where multiple prophetic words, where the Lord says this is a Sodom and Gomorrah moment for the church. Literally, right now, the judgment starts in the house of the Lord. You're seeing the Sodom and Gomorrah in these churches, whether it's LGBTQ or stuff like what we're fixing to show here. This coming to pass right here. Go ahead.
All right. So Mark, last week we had the whole drag queen thing that had happened the day before out in Colorado. So we thought, okay, can't top that one, right? And he's talking about all kinds of sick stuff in that from the pulpit, right? Well, then we got this one. So let's go on ahead and let's take a look.
Everybody, Sean here, and welcome to Revealing Truth. In 1 John 2:15, we're told not to love the world or anything in the world, and that if anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. And in James 4:4, we're told that anyone who chooses to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God. But unfortunately, we have churches like Flatirons and Andy Stanley's church playing secular music in their services. And we've got places like Church by the Glades, Church of the Rock, and LCBC Pennsylvania compromising with world themes to entertain people. And then, of course, there's Mike Todd, who's nothing but a showman with his over-the-top sermons. He even did a recent one for Valentine's Day that was wacky. But today's video takes the cake. This is from a church called First Love Church, and they have locations in many countries around the world. But I'm not sure which location put on the show we're about to see. This is the original video, and they're calling this a Blessed Christian Music Festival. Okay, that was just gross and ungodly, and there was nothing blessed or Christian about that. They took a Michael Jackson song and gave it their own twist that was unfortunately disgusting. But this is what's happening in the church today. Many are trying to compromise with the world to attract people. But as we've said before, if you need sick gimmicks like this to attract people, then you're going to need to continue with these worldly spectacles to keep those people.
I don't even know what to say. This is the Sodom and Gomorrah moment for the churches. This is who, as a 501c3, that you are yoked with, guys. I guarantee you these guys are nonprofit somewhere. And look, there's other countries that have a 501c3 as well, but it's not called a 501c3. It's called something else. Anything, I think, under Crown rule has got some of this. I think Canada's got one, UK's got one. So you can go all over the place. And so, which covers a lot of this stuff, but it's called something different in each country.
Okay. So makes sense. So, just like I said, just when you think you've seen it all, I thought the drag queen thing, but now we've got, some kind of craziness where she's ripping off his belt and, all this. I'm just, like I told you before the show, I'm speechless. I'm just speechless.
Yeah.
This stuff is nuts. I cannot believe these people call this church. And I can't believe people sit in the pews, or the seats in the church buildings and even partake in any of this nonsense. It's absolute evil. It's crazy.
We showed the LGBTQ thing last week. Think about this for a second. Standing at the pulpit as a drag queen, how the mercy and grace of God doesn't run out and lightning strike and burn that place to the ground right there on the spot is just beyond me sometimes. Because, again, this is atrocious behavior that nobody's calling out. Nobody in that congregation is calling out. But yet, if you sow your tithe, you sow $1,000, you'll get XYZ in return in these same places. So it's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah. Loves Justice for All says, thank God that Mark has documented and dated all of his prophecies to refer back to as things are being revealed. I think that's a great point. I feel the same way. So Michelle B says, Mark, I have a question. Are banks closing because of the 501c3?
I don't know about that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Okay. And Castillo says 54 says, how can the people not question this? That's what I'm saying. They'll still give their tithes to that church.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you want to call yourself a church, but that is Taco Ride says worse than Sodom and Gomorrah because they're mocking God.
Yes, they are.
Good point. That's a good point, Taco Ride.
Well, it's like the 7 mountain mandate.
Yes.
7 rays of light. It's all the same thing. They're mocking the 7 spirits of God by doing that. That's what that is. So yeah, they're mocking God.
Yeah. J Math says, oh my Lord, what did I just watch? How could this be going on in a church? That's exactly why we're showing it to you. Opening the eyes of those that just don't understand and see it.
And you're yoked with this. If you're in a church and you're 501c3, you are yoked with these people.
Okay. So Mark, I know there's going to be some newbies that are watching and you know my heart. And so I want to make sure people understand when you say that. So it's like, well, how would I be yoked with that? And what you're saying is if they're a 501c3 and you're a 501c3 or your churches that you go to, guess what? That's being yoked with them.
That's the written covenant that you are in contract with, that you are yoked with. When the Bible says do not be unequally yoked, it's talking about that as well. It doesn't matter if it's Planned Parenthood, the Church of Satan. It doesn't matter. They're all 501c3 nonprofits. You are yoked with them, written contract, bar none.
So good. Yep. All right. Freckles. I like that. Freckles 99 says, Mark, thank you so much for your expertise in this area. I can so see how Satan has got in the church through the government 501c3. People don't understand why I can't find a church. Yeah. Well, what you're looking for is a congregation, like a small home group.
Home group, ecclesia group is what you want.
Yep.
Run from these big churches, guys. Don't walk, run.
Run.
And stop giving your money to these guys because you are contributing. Look, there's another prophecy in here. You can go to my website, swordrescue.com, for free. Print them off for free. If people ask me all the time, Michelle, I don't know how to pray. Use the prophetic words as your target focused prayers and repentance. Lord, this is what we've done. This is what the Lord's issuing correction for. So we have to learn to take correction. That is part of our accountability as we walk in Christ.
It's so good, Mark. Let's see. SKN 456 says, I wonder how many of these so-called pastors tithe. Their tithe would be massive. Oh, because they make so much money. So do they tithe is the question. Well, what they do is they go around giving $100,000 wedding gifts, apparently.
Or is that hush money to keep their mouth shut?
I mean, I had no clue that kind of stuff was going on. I mean, it
Oh,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Oh, yeah.
But I just didn't know until when we covered that about Rodney Howard Brown. So
This is a cartel. What you see, what you're going to see, I think, in this docuseries, what I believe you're going to see is they're going to expose the fact that the church is actually a cartel. I've been saying this for years. They operate like a cartel. Why do you think they took Jim Baker down, guys? I'm not even going to go into that right now. That's why they took him down. He was getting too big. Territory. Think of territory. He was getting too big. He had the biggest ministry, PTL, in America at the time. It was like a Disney World of literally like Disney World of ministries. They sent someone in, the deep state did, I believe, to take him down, the female, and this, that, and the other. Again, I'm not going to go into it, but it works like a cartel. When someone gets too big, they're going to get something on you and they're going to take you down.
okay, Mark, the one thing that stood out to me about the promo reel for the religion business that we aired a little while ago,
right,
was the guys that, the two guys, it looked like there's two guys that are kind of really the main guys doing that docuseries. Did you notice that there's a couple of different times, like the one guy goes, did you just really show me your gun? And then you see one of them getting arrested. And
right,
that's absolutely reminding me of a cartel.
Yeah.
You're right. These people are thugs.
Or they're throwing lawsuits at you.
Yeah.
Or they're going to threaten to sue you because they don't want to be exposed. Jezebel has to protect the corporation. Look, again, you've got the political tower and you have the religious tower. They both run parallel. The political tower is already coming down. God is now taking down the religious tower. But the point is that they run parallel. So they have to have a mechanism by which to control the people. They can't control you through politics anymore. They know that. So what are they using? They're using the prophets of Baal, Reawaken Tour, all the prophets of Baal. They're using all these false prophets on the whiteboard. Paula White's using all her false prophets underneath her to control the king's ear, because where the head goes, which is Trump, the body follows the rest of America. That's an old fighting term. You control the head, you control the body. Same thing. That's why they did the 501c3. If we can control the head, Baal, we can control the body of Christ. They got duped into thinking that they were the body of Christ, when in fact, no, you're the body of Baal under the 501c3. That's why it's so important to come in. That's why they control. That's why you're seeing this control going on. That's why you're seeing the videos we're showing you right now, because Baal is the head. He's controlling his body.
That's a lot to take in. Well, there is so much sin. Don't ever take away my freedom, says in the church, and it gets even worse if not dealt with.
That's right.
Great point. And it's gone unchecked for so long. That makes so much sense. One of the things that you said years ago when you first came out with the whole 501c3 prophecy, I remember you saying, this is going to be, well, how did you word it? It was going to be the most controversial word that you'd ever given.
Yep.
And I remember
absolutely.
thinking, controversial? Why would it be the most controversial? I mean, you've talked about Roe versus Wade back then.
Yep.
There were so many things. Why did you say that?
Because
what made it so controversial?
So who killed Jesus? Who was the spirit that really killed Jesus? It was the religious spirits. And these religious spirits who are controlled by mammon, who are controlled by the 30 pieces of silver. That's who's controlling that spirit, that same murderous spirit. And when you go, I have been up against these guys on the phone or even face to face, but mostly on the phone, because I don't meet with people outside of this. But on the phone, I have had these guys demonically, literally manifest on the phone when you bring up the 501c3. I've had them hang up on me. I've had them say, you go your way, I'll go mine. Click, just like that. I mean, nasty, vile. And that's why I tell people, if you take that prophecy to your pastor, or you better have your facts together, because trust me, if he's being controlled by mammon, this is how you know they're going to be controlled by mammon. If they're open to what you're saying, and that means they're open to correction. They truly love God and they want to leave and like Matthew was at 1921, where he says, the rich young ruler, he says, give everything away and follow me. Well, we don't really know how he made his money, because the Bible doesn't really say. So He could have been child trafficking. I mean, I'm being extreme here, but we don't know what it was. So, but if he made his money a legitimate way, maybe the Lord may not have said that. You know what I mean? But this is the same way. These guys have to give away that's blood money off the babies that were aborted because they're yoked with the 501c3, they're yoked with Planned Parenthood. So 60-something million kids that have been killed in this country, the blood is on the church's hands. That's blood money. They're buying these 18, 20,000 square foot homes, these jets from blood money. Think of the consequences. Think of the implications of that, Michelle. And people you're being duped into thinking that that's the system that I'm supposed to be sowing into because you're hearing it from your pastors constantly.
Yeah. It's so overwhelmingly horrific.
It is overwhelmingly horrific. So, but I mean, we have to come to a point where we say, okay, enough is enough. What is it that the Lord wants? The Lord wants to clean his house. He wants his people set free. You're under slavery under the 501c3 system anyway, because you have two levels of governing, the federal government and the state as a corporation. So once those layers come off, well, Mark, if they get rid of the 501c3, I'll be free of this. No, you're not. You have to unincorporate. You're still under the state, because if a state like California goes rogue and they say, you're going to preach LGBTQ from the pulpit, we're going to shut you down. Legally, they can do it because you answer to them as a corporation.
So good. And question for Mark. What does he think of Hallow, the app, biblical prayer assistant websites?
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I don't know. I just like to keep things simple. I don't necessarily need an app. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's about relationship, and it's between you and God. Your heavenly Father. You don't need an app, you know. Right. And so I think sometimes people get kind of caught up in other shiny objects, and they don't really need that. And so it's a distraction. And I think also a way potentially for the enemy to get a foothold. And you don't know the integrity of these apps.
Right. Yeah, I'd be careful. Just use discernment. I'd be careful to any of these apps.
Yeah.
If you're honestly, I'm not slamming this person. If you're having to ask me about an app, then that's already your discernment questioning it.
Yeah. Yes. I've said that before. You got your answer if you're having to ask.
You got your answer if you having to ask.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Later 84 says religious and Jezebel spirits are rampant in the church.
Yep.
The lure of attention and money has them in bondage, and they cannot minister to the poor and hurting. And I want to go back to what I said something about a week or two ago. Why isn't any of these people? And I thought about it when you were talking a little while ago, when you said that the Lord had shown you that these were not his churches. Okay, because if they were, they'd be preaching about repenting.
Right. And let me go back to something, because I forgot to clarify my point here. When you take the 501c3 to one of your pastors, you're going to see if he's controlled by mammon or not. If he manifests, there's your answer. If he tells you hit the road, go your way, I'll go mine, you already know he's being controlled. You're not going to get through to him. This guy's going to need massive deliverance. But if he's open to it, and you take him, like from hushmoney.org, the website we always recommend, and you take him the information and you pray about it and he's open to it, that means that there's a possibility he could change, and which is what we want. You know, I've had a lot of pastors manifest, but I've also had some pastors contact me and say, hey, Mark, I listened to your message. I repented. I came out of the 501c3. Now we're doing a home group, or we're doing this, that, and the other. And that's great. That's what we want. That's what we're here for. But these guys, like these big name guys that we've been showing on here, a lot of these guys are not going to get out of it. They're just not. They're in too deep, and they're not going to give up their millions of this blood money that they've had on their hands.
Yeah.
For all these years. It's just not going to happen. They think they're doing a good work in their mind. And that's the narcissistic mentality.
Well, do you think that, or do you think that it's kind of, I've started to wonder with some people that it's like, well, they are not willing to give up the money. It's that spirit of mammon. And so what they do is they make it like, oh, we're doing great work. You're the one that doesn't understand.
Right.
And really, they get it. They know. They understand on some level. They just play dumb.
They play dumb also, but you got to understand who's controlling them. They can't get out.
Yeah.
It's like when you sign your soul to a 501c3, it's like with the mafia. You can never get out once you're in, because most of this stuff is Illuminati driven. Most of these big names are Illuminati driven. Once you're in, they take a vow of silence. They're never going to admit who they are. They can't. They took the vow.
Whew, that's a lot to take in.
And every time you sow to these guys, believe it or not, I hate to say this, you're opening up a curse on yourself down to the third and fourth generation. So you better find out who these guys are. See, this is why they want to threaten the lawsuits. They don't want you finding out who they are. If you find out who they are and what they're affiliated with, you're going to pull your tithes and offerings. This is why they don't want to give up the 501c3, because they know that people are less apt to give if they don't get a tax return. Well, a tax return is not biblical, guys. Nowhere in the Bible does it say you get a tax return on your giving. That's giving from the wrong heart, because a lot of people will give, oh, I can write this off on my taxes. That's not giving from the right heart. That's not what God wants.
That's also why, I mean, I have sat and met with people that were thinking about going into a 501c3, and they've said, but, well, I wouldn't get donations. You know, there are many people that wouldn't donate. Well, then you're not trusting God for what you need.
Right.
You know, you're trusting in your own way that you think, okay, this is the way I'm going to pay the bills and for my ministry or for my TV show, my Christian television show, or whatever it is.
Right.
You know, and I sit there and I listen to them justify these things over and over and over. And it was through you that helped me to understand that that is that spirit of mammon.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard to break, man. It is literally hard to break. Once they're in it, you just forget it. Sometimes it's very hard to get them out. I'm not saying it can't be done, because it can. It happens.
Yeah. So another viewer says, Arbitrage01 says, I am extremely sad how many of my church friends are asleep. Yeah. They are blind to the dangers of the 501c3.
Yeah. It's everywhere, guys. And again, this is why we do what we do, is to perform a rescue mission to pull people out of that fire. And try to wake them up, because this is not going to be good for the church system. I can tell you that right now. It just isn't.
All right. So we're going to read a few paragraphs of an email that I received yesterday. It was sent to me Saturday, but I didn't see it till yesterday morning when I woke up. And so it was just saying, you know, I have to share because it's a God thing. Let's see. So saying that it's a lot more fun letting the Holy Spirit guide our giving instead of ministries and churches. So this is somebody who, it says, we stopped giving to the 501c3 people after learning about it through yourself and Mark on Truth Social. I told my husband, well, I guess we'll find out if our lack of return was because we gave to the 501c3 people. First thought when I read that, wow, did you all hear that? Did you hear that? Of course, I'm Southern. Did y'all hear that? So we stopped giving to the 501c3 people after learning about it through yourself and Mark on Truth Social. I told my husband, well, I guess we'll find out if our lack of return was because we gave to the 501c3 people. Ever since we stopped, it's like God has opened the floodgates of financial blessings. I honestly haven't figured out where it's coming from. Do you all hear this? Like, this is some viewers, a husband and wife. We both looked at our bank statement and scratched our heads. She talks about the money and how much money they were able to transfer from checking into a money market. And she goes, that never happens. It's truly a God thing. This is a couple that opened their eyes and saw and was teachable and took it in and changed what they were doing. And so she goes on to say that they're on what they would consider a fixed income, so to speak, but it's never fixed in our opinion because we have Jesus. Great point. Still, this is amazing and truly a testimony to what was causing our financial blessings to be clogged up. Interesting. Very interesting. I used to tell my husband, gee, with all the giving that we've done over the years, we should be millionaires by now. We didn't give to get, but we know what the word says about God blessing our giving. And so what she's saying is that they were giving and giving and giving for years, but it was to 501c3s. And guess what? They weren't seeing, you know, what God's promises were. And so, but that's because they were giving into the wrong system. What Mark talks about all the time, the system. And she says, once we repented and stopped giving to the 501c3s, the proof was in the pudding, as they say. Do you all hear this testimony? Is this not amazing? This is why I'm sharing it with you, because this is amazing testimony. This is something that they walked this out. This is absolutely amazing. She goes, everything that you and Mark are discussing is so relatable. And she goes on to say that they were close friends with someone. I'm not going to say the name. It's a big a big ministry person, 501c3, friends with the names we're calling out today. And so, we'll go from there. Said that when they quit giving to that person's 501c3, that person who was not receptive to the information about the 501c3, she was caught in that trap and all that. But when they quit giving to her ministry and her 501c3, they quit being friends. That big name quit being friends with these people. Said made her way up the ladder and guest speakers and got, at her events are all the biggest names in the 501c3 stuff. She goes, it's really sad. She doesn't call us anymore, communicate since we stopped giving, which is fine. We get it now. And so she just says, we thank God for Mark's obedience to share his prophecies, even when it's not popular or well received by most. It's just more important to be obedient. It's a calling. A lot of people don't understand it. So I know that you deal with that, Mark, where, people don't understand. Much thanks for your show and your heart to continually help those people. We really enjoy watching and learning. May God continue to richly bless you in Christ's love. And so this was an amazing testimony. And I wanted to share it with the viewers because this is somebody this couple has walked it out and they have seen the fruit. They have seen, they repented, they got out of it, they repented, and they have held the line, and they're already seeing what God can do. And so it's just amazing. And of course, they're helping with North Carolina as well. And so that was just amazing. So Ladder 48 said, preachers in my grandparents' day had to rely on God for provision. Woo, now we're getting somewhere. Indeed, God provided, and what a testimony to the flock that was under that preacher. No bell system involved. Rory with the story, says, we repented of tithing and began secret giving. Our health even became excellent. Wow.
Yeah.
The health. Wow.
But do you see how this is adding up now? This written testimony, now this testimony. This is why these guys are threatening lawsuits. This is why I'm the most hated prophetic voice literally probably in the country, if not the globe right now, because of the fact that 501c3 is taking that system down. People are finally starting to wake up with some of this stuff. Now, can I read one of the questions here real quick?
Sure.
It says, I think it's Aqua Girl here. It says, if IRS goes bye-bye, how will the 501c3 matter to any of them? Okay, so that's a good question. That's the one I just went over just a second ago, but I want to cover that again because I'm glad you brought it up. If he does away with the IRS, that's one level of federal governing that's off of them. They still have this state because they're still incorporated. They've got to unincorporate. To truly be a free church, you have got to get rid of the 501c3 and you've got to get rid of the incorporation, period. That's why I tell a lot of people, do a trust. Nobody can tell you what to do then. Nobody can touch anything under a trust. But, people look at this because we've been ingrained, Michelle, and we've been taught of the business model. This is like the Clay Clark's business model of churches, like we showed. You know what I mean? People have an ingrained that they have to have a business. You run it like a business. That's not, God never intended this. This is why Jesus walked into the temple, made a whip, and drove them out, because they were turning it into a business. It was never meant to be a business. So we have to change our stinking thinking, if you will, and get away from the business model and start operating like a true ecclesia. You got somebody around it. You've got an ecclesia, 2 or 3 or more are gathered. He is there amongst you. Somebody be the treasurer. Big deal. Hold the funds. Use the funds to buy tires for your neighbor, 90-year-old neighbor that can't afford tires. Baby clothes for somebody. Have your own little, I don't want to call it a store, but a thrift room where you've got some baby clothes or maybe some clothes or some food, like what you're doing for North Carolina. You hold all that and you impact the people around you is what you want. That's what your ecclesia is supposed to do. And as they begin to pop up on the map, you have this influence, this circle, if you will, on a map the Lord showed me, 360-degree influence that you have. And what you want is those circles to start overlapping one another so that you got double the coverage. So you're covering your entire area is what you're doing.
That's so good. And if people don't understand this, so each state, like the state of Tennessee, the state of Alabama, the state of Florida. So those are corporations. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, then you can always go to MichelleMooreShow.com. We have a ton of resources on there. And one of them is quite a few pages. Let's see if I can find it. It is the numbers. They are the, let's see. Boy, we got some good stuff on here, y'all. By the way, Melissa Leggett was on here, and she got the renunciations for Masons and Descendants. I mean, there's some stuff up in this place. MichelleMooreShow.com, Duns numbers. So there's DUNS. And so those are the Duns numbers. And so this tells you even the 3-letter agencies are for-profit corporations.
Right.
And so this is the kind of stuff that, when we give you the numbers. So the United States government got a Duns number. The U.S. Department of Defense got one. Treasury got one. The U.S. Department of State got one. How about the Department of Energy? The U.S. Department of Energy? Yep, they got one too. So, so we give you all of this, but one of the pages gives you every state, and then also the main cities, because you got cities too. The city of Baltimore, the city of, and so that's how you know. So the city of New Orleans, the city of Davenport, Indianapolis, Chicago, they're their own corporations as well. And so those Duns numbers are all right there for you to be able to see it. It's an excellent document. And so we've had that on the MichelleMooreShow.com. There's no "the" in the URL. It's just like you see it there on the screen. So that's why Mark is talking about that.
And you're yoked with all of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for being here today. I wanted to ask you, before we, see about your closing statements, final thoughts, Mark, what do you think about, it seems like it's going to get really ugly. People are already coming against Trump and trying to, make all for kind of, he's a tyrant. And look, he's trying, they're just lying and about all kinds of stuff. Oh, he's turned the government over to Elon. Elon's running. We didn't elect Elon. And so, all these crazy things that are being said. So what's your thought on this? I always just think it's like what the Holy Spirit told me, gosh, a year or so ago, that evil never gives up ground easily.
No, and it's because we've given evil that ground for so long that we're having this battle that's going on right now. So yes, it is going to get ugly. Politically, it's going to get ugly, and religious is going to get ugly, just like what we're seeing right now. It's the spirit of Elijah and the prophets of Baal clashing. They're going to try and put the spirit of Elijah in his cave. It's not going to work. What they don't understand is it's not going to work. There's too many people out here that are exposing this, and we want our country back. We want our country given back to the Lord Jesus Christ. And unfortunately, it's going to mean exposing some people in order to make that happen. So it's going to get ugly. It's going to get nasty. That's part of justice. Remember, I was saying, you've heard me say before, if you don't have a stomach for justice, you better get it now, because this is going to get ugly.
You've said it numerous times. That's a great point. Great reminder. Any closing thoughts?
I just be careful who you follow, be careful who you tithe to, and you can go to my website, print these off for free. If you need prayer points, these are all prayer points, guys. So be careful who you follow. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you for being here. So swordrescue.com. And thank you so much for being with us, Mark. I appreciate it. It's been an excellent show, in my humble opinion. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for all your help today in helping my viewers know what's going on, what's up. All right. So a couple of things I wanted to share with you. So the first thing is I want to remind you there'll be no show tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, because we're going to be in North Carolina. I'm excited about that. We're taking almost $30,000 worth of supplies, food, groceries, all kinds of stuff. So I'm very excited about that. I just have to tell you, I'll tell you a couple things. The first thing is because of you guys. I mean, I couldn't do any of this on my own, and producer Ron, we couldn't do it on our own. And, but because of the generosity of you, the viewers. So, I shared on Friday some numbers. I think I filed that document away, or those notes away, but I think it's like over $55,000 worth of food and supplies just in last month's trip and this month's trip. And then we found out today about a lady who is sleeping in her car and needed help. So we've sent her some money to get her off the streets and not be sleeping in her car. in the Carolinas. And of course, it's snowing. So, and all that kind of stuff. So she's been in her car for a while now, come to find out, because of the circumstances from the storm. So helping with that situation. Couldn't do it without you guys. Couldn't do it. And it's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The help that the Michelle Moore Show is able to give it's the viewers, not the show, but it's the Michelle Moore Show viewers. And so I wanted to give you a heads up about that. So I was actually a few minutes late getting on to just kind of the prep time with Mark and with producer Ron. And it was because I rushed to the post office because I was going to be leaving so early in the morning for North Carolina that I knew I couldn't do it tomorrow. And so I had to rush to the post office to try to get that help to North Carolina. Or actually she's now, yeah. And so she's, desperate measures, desperate times, and needed the money urgently. So sometimes people wait till the last minute and to ask for help. Really, it's pretty much like 10 minutes past the last minute. And so we're trying to make sure she got that help immediately, and so as quickly as possible. So anyways, but again, it's because of you guys. So I just want to say thank you. Producer Ron wants me to remind you that we will be airing documentaries, though, during the show time. So at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern time, just heads up, when the Michelle Moore Show usually airs, we're still going to air. And it'll just be a documentary or an educational video of some type. By the way, I saw some of the comments about the documentaries and stuff and how amazing the documentaries were. Yeah, I mean, we have amazing documentaries. Producer Ron spends so much time and energy. He says it's his favorite thing that he does for everybody. And so he says you can watch the TTA shows and documentaries 24/7 live streaming on truthtalkamerica.com, which is our network's website, Boxcast for Roku, Fire TV and Apple TV, and Truth Talk America's Rumble channel. And some of those go on the Michelle Moore Show Rumble channel, but not a lot. We don't do a ton on there, but we do some here and there. Just wanted to let you know about that. We are pausing the ivermectin program. So a couple of changes coming up. Our Truth Doctor, it's just been so much. He has so graciously served the Michelle Moore Show for a year now. I think we've done about 2,000 ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine prescriptions. I thought it was around 1,200. I didn't realize that it was more like 2,000. So when I spoke with him, I was like, oh my goodness. So we are trying to figure out, what that's going to look like moving forward. I haven't decided yet. And so we got to do some due diligence on that and see how we're going to proceed. So the next week it's on pause. And then I'll let you know next Monday is kind of what I'm anticipating, just an update, whether we're not going to do it anymore or we are. But I tell you what we are going to do, and that continue for a little bit still, is to help you with getting your refills. So if you have a prescription and it had a refill on it, you can always call the pharmacy, pay to, for whatever refill you need. And then they will still get it to us. We will still come and pick up the ivermectin prescriptions and continue those refills. And so anyways, if you have an appointment with our doctor, he's honoring that, which those appointments should be done by Thursday. And so at the latest. And so he's still really a newlywed, and, it's just been so much. And he has so selflessly, and with such excellence and grace served our listenership for a year. It is my belief that most people need to speak to a doctor before taking ivermectin. It's not a just across the board kind of thing, and everybody has different needs and reasons for taking it. And so I think you need a doctor. And so it's going to be very difficult for me to not have him around because he's just done such a great job. So I'm working with the pharmacy, and we'll see what we can figure out and what I feel comfortable with and what I think will serve you all, the viewers, the best. And so that's ultimately what we care about. There are a lot of places to get ivermectin. Fenbendazole, of course, is over the counter. And so, but for me, it was about having a doctor involved to help you through what you were, needing it for with COVID. And so So anyway, so we're going to see what that looks like moving forward. And so we'll update you on Monday about that. We will be doing a show this Friday. Eve is going to be here, our Godly Granny formulator. So, when we launched Godly Granny, we had 25 products. Last Monday, we released 4 and did a little sale and all that. It was cute. It was great. And then now on Friday, we're releasing the remaining products. It's another 36. We're doing more than doubling our offering, which is amazing. But I want to tell you something. I'm producer Ron, and I have worked so hard on this. And of course, I'm already working on the next release. So it's very exciting. I sat up late last night going over and picking and choosing which things. And so that we were going to be offering with Godly Granny. And I got to tell you, there's going to be some pet stuff. So, and the labels are going to have a schnauzer. They're going to have Flash More on them with the pet. Isn't that great? And so Godly Granny's got a schnauzer. And of course, a little Flash More. So I'm excited about it. I think I've already found the logo. And so I'm excited about that. But been working very hard. This Godly Granny thing's a calling. And I remember asking God, to help me to be excited about what you want me to be excited about. And so I think God's really delivered on that. And so I'm really excited about it. Eyes of a Lady said, documentaries at Go Michelle, where can people send money to help with North Carolina? Okay, so you can see the instructions, the 3 different ways to be able to help with North Carolina with Hurricane Helene. We're already planning for next month. And so if you want to contribute to that, you can. I'm hoping tomorrow that I will find out an update about the grocery store in Swannanoa. So, I don't know if you know this, but Swannanoa's grocery store got taken out and they were rebuilding, but then started having all these mold issues. And now they're talking about completely destroying the building and then building back a brand new building. Well, if that happens, it'll be next year before it reopens is what they're saying. So anyways, so with North Carolina and East Tennessee, we're also helping with them as well. So if you want to donate or contribute, there's 3 different ways to do that. You can do it through PayPal, Venmo, or snail mail. And so either way, and all 3 of the details for all 3 ways is in today's show description, and pretty much a show description for the last few months. But the show description on Rumble, so for the Truth Talk America shows and for the Michelle Moore show. So always links to everything and anything you could ever want or need is in the show description of each show. Okay. And so the address and all that kind of stuff is in there for you as well. So, and I apologize. I'm not always the quickest to go to the bank. So I know sometimes people will say, did you get my check? And it hasn't been cashed yet. So here's the deal. It gets processed by my assistant. She only works 1 day a week. We don't check the mail every day. So sometimes it's a couple of weeks before we deposit a check. And we've been blessed that we don't have to have it for this trip. So there's not urgency. So I don't have, because I'm already planning for next trip. I bought these groceries and made these plans for tomorrow's trip 10 days ago and spent all that money 10 days ago. And so now we're letting that kind of, accumulate and add up. And so just praise God, I would have never in a million years, never. But just like with today, we just can't have people sleeping in their cars if we can help it. So from the OC says, yay, Flash More and Godly Granny. Yes, they're coming together. Godly Granny is going to have a puppy line and or a fur baby line. I don't know. We may do some kitty cat stuff too. And so Christ Believer says, Flash More is a Godly Granny fan. Oh, yes, of course he is. Oh, my goodness. He is precious, y'all. Just precious. He goes with me to the post office. So he sits in the car and he just stares. And the lady at the post office, she always comments about Flash More. She's like, I see that you got your baby with you. And I'll say, yep, he's my assistant and supervisor. And so... All right. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed today's show. Mark Taylor, amazing, amazing. And like I said, we won't have a show Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We're going to have an amazing show on Friday, already putting some things together for you over the weekend. High value. And so remember what I've always said as far as, my goal is to get you healthy and keep you healthy. And so I think that's really part of my calling. It's more than just my goal. It's my goal because God made it part of my calling. So anyways, and I'll be working on the ivermectin stuff and seeing how best to be able to help you guys and just see how that, but we will continue to pay for your shipping and make sure you get your prescriptions, because in the state of Tennessee, they don't allow for the pharmacy to mail the prescriptions out. So that's why producer Ron and I go get them. We have to go and pick them up. And so we've been doing this for a year now, and just faithfully for you guys. So again, to get you healthy and to keep you healthy. And so that's what matters. So that way, as everything is getting better, you'll be better and your health will be good and you will be vibrant and be able to fulfill the plans and the purposes for which you were created for. All right. We'll see you right here Friday. I can't wait. I'm going to miss you guys. All right, we'll see you. And I'll be taking videos and photos and everything, you know that, of North Carolina. So you'll get an update. You'll get to see all kinds of stuff on Friday. You know that's a big deal. Probably have Jenica with us as too. She's the one that's been doing the buildings in Swannanoa and the one that we're delivering the food to, and she gets it out to East Tennessee areas and all throughout North Carolina, really around the Swannanoa area. It's just been so badly hit. It's just amazing how horrible it is, and it's horrific. And so anyway, so I told producer Ron the other day, and I think I might have mentioned it to you guys, that I've been trying to prepare myself for this trip because it is just so, it can be emotional for me, especially as I keep coming back and it still looks so awful. And so, but you can tell people are working, but it's just a slow thing. And I think some of that is because it's been, snowing and freezing and horrific weather. So I'm eager to see what it looks like tomorrow. And, but also trying to brace myself and prepare myself. So if that makes sense. So, but honored that I get to go and do this and be the hands and feet of you guys, the viewers who gave. And so we appreciate you for helping us help those that need the help so badly. Thank you. And God bless you. And I'll see you on Friday.
Toxic chemicals are everywhere, even in products we've used for generations. Now there's a replacement solution, Godly Granny. Godly Granny products are nutraceutical, clean products with purpose. All our products like skin creams, bath bombs, lip scrubs, deodorants, and more are free of the Godly Granny 5 Dirty Dozen list. That's 60 harmful chemicals many other companies use that you'll never find in our products. Go to godlygranny.com today. Be sure and use the discount code Michelle10 at checkout to receive 10% off your entire order.
I'm Dr. Fulgens. For over 30 years, UCB has helped customers strengthen portfolios with gold. But let them tell you in their own words.
Buying gold and silver from Universal Coin and Bullion has been one of the greatest experiences for me, and it's been an easy process and also a very safe process to do that.
Call now to secure your 1-ounce gold or silver American Eagle coin with no dealer markup.
Did you know your cell phone emits radiation that has been linked to increased risk of certain types of cancers? This is why manufacturers include hidden warnings to keep your phone away from your body. And what's worse is that children are more susceptible to the potentially damaging effects. Safe Sleep for cell phones is a case specifically designed to block radiation. Its shielding technology integrated into the case has been tested in a third-party FCC-accredited lab to block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation emitted by your phone. It also functions as a stand for watching videos and comes in a magnetically detachable style for some devices. Safe Sleeve also offers anti-radiation cases for tablets and laptops and has free shipping in the U.S. plus discounted worldwide shipping is available. Go to truthtalkamerica.com today and click on the Safe Sleep banner on the home page. Use the discount code FIRST10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Trying to get healthier is full of can'ts.
Come on, Grandma, come play. Come play with us, Grandma.
I can't move. So you go to the doctor.
Your body can't figure this out. So take this, and this.
Because your body can't. But is it true your body can't? Maybe your body can. All you need is a little support. Wave Watch is a wearable device that uses sound wave therapy to help your body heal itself. Studies are showing that all cells in our bodies resonate at unique frequencies, and specific sounds can stimulate them. Your body can deal with pain, so you can play hard.
WaveWatch comes with a 1-year manufacturer's warranty for defects and flaws, and you can upgrade to an additional warranty for water damage and breakage. Go to wavewatch.com. Be sure to use the discount code Michelle100 at checkout to receive $100 savings on your purchase.
For Michelle's social media links, go to MichelleMooreShow.com.